Let the Right One In is a 2008 Swedish horror film. Oskar gets bullied by his classmates and develops an unlikely friendship with Eli, who's a vampire. The film was directed by Tomas Alfredson. Guys, welcome back to Garage Vampire-thon, where every day for the month of October, we revisit a vampire movie. Today, we're talking about Let the Right One In. Not the remake, the original Swedish film. This is my first time watching this movie, and it was really good. I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. It was a fun time. Kind of gave me an adult fairy tale vibe. I felt like I was watching a Guillermo del Toro movie. Because what Guillermo del Toro movies do is that they'll create a very fairy tale-like environment where the morals of this universe are very clear, like a fable, and have it take place in this very fantastical world with fantastical elements, but there's some very brutal violence in it. And it makes it an adult fairy tale, in my opinion. And this movie has some very brutal violence. One scene in particular involving a face disfiguration. Where a character throws acid in his own face and then commits suicide later. Sometimes the gore scenes do become goofy. There's a scene where a girl's running around with cats and the cats are attacking her. I was imagining Hanna-Barbera sound effects when that happened. What is really terrifying about this movie, and it is a very terrifying movie in my opinion, probably the scariest movie I've seen on this list so far. Not to say that this is the best vampire movie I've seen in this marathon, but it's definitely the scariest one. And it's because they make vampires extremely realistic in this movie. The character of Ellie has someone working for her, kind of like a Dracula and Renfield relationship going on there. But this guy will just go in the forest, poison people, hang them upside down and cut their throats and collect the blood. And it's portrayed in a very realistic fashion. The guy who directed this movie also made Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which also has that very dry, in-your-face, realistic tone to it. He also made the movie The Snowman, which I haven't seen, but didn't really get good reviews. But it's going for that. It almost feels like a true crime movie at times, the way that the Renfield character is killing people and collecting their blood. And that's the kind of horror that frightens me, is that true crime horror. The horror that actual people can do. Of all of the slashers out there, Freddy Krueger, Jason, the one that always terrified me the most was Michael Myers. Not recently, because he's been in like 20 terrible movies. But Michael Myers is just some guy with a butcher knife going around stabbing people. It kind of reminded me of this German movie I like a lot called Spurlos. I think it's The Vanishing in English. But it's just this very realistic movie about someone who gets kidnapped. And those are always, to me, the most terrifying horror movies. That's not to say that the fantastical elements don't work in this movie. They absolutely do. The scenes where Eli gets blood cravings and goes on killing sprees, those feel very realistic as well. And it helps set the tone, the fact that we previously saw a very realistic murder, so it really gets you in the mindset that this is a movie that takes place in the real world. And what I thought was interesting, where I think that Del Toro fairy tale-like style comes in especially, is when it comes to the theme of evil being contagious. That's the overall theme I got in this movie. You have a bully character whose brother, we find out, is very unhinged and kind of crazy, and the bully takes out his anger on the protagonist, and then the protagonist befriends the vampire who comes to the defense of the protagonist. So you kind of have the evil going from the brother of the bully, to the protagonist, to Eli, and it kind of just creates this vicious circle of evil. Which is why I think the movie is called Let the Right One In, is choose your friends carefully, choose the people you want to be close with carefully. And at the end of the movie, you have your protagonist going away on a train with the friend who's in a coffin, and he speaks Morse code with the friend, and he says kiss to the friend, and the friend says kiss back. So that's what I mean, that kind of theme of evil being contagious and creating monsters in our own society, which feels like a very Del Toro theme. That theme of contagious evil kind of fits well with the vampire genre as well, because we all know vampires become vampires by getting a bite from another vampire. So those two elements kind of parallel each other very beautifully, in my opinion. So that's what I really liked about this movie. The gore really works. There's some very frightening scenes. It's a very realistic and gritty movie. And it really has a good heart to it. It has a very good moral to talk about. Guys, have you seen Let the Right One In? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you feel about the movie? Comment below and let me know. And I'll see you guys around for more Garage Vampire-thon.